Manchester United recorded their worst ever Premier League finish and their worst top flight finish since the 1970s. But after an emphatic victory over Manchester City, Erik has kept his job and it is now time to back the manager. Ineos and Sir Jim Ratcliffe are also now part owning the club, and with brand new CEO Omar Barada, Jason Wilcox coming into the club and potentially Dan Ashworth, it looks like all things football are finally being fixed at Manchester United. So today we are picking up from the 24-25 season after that emphatic FA Cup victory to see if we can now challenge in the Europa League, challenge for the Premier League and rebuild Manchester United using realistic Ten Hag tactics and transfers. Now of course we have got three variations of the tactic. We've got a sort of standard, a attacking and a defensive, but they will be tweaked as we go throughout the season, so I'll show you guys the final versions when they are there. And also to mention that we have obviously got a save file now where United have won the FA Cup, finished 8th and are in the Europa League. Now if you want access to the tactics and the save file as well as the end of the 24-25 season save file, they'll be available over on Patreon, but we'll go into that in just a little bit. What you can see first of all is the 4-2-3-1 system that I think Manchester United will be playing next season. I've got Onana staying in goal, Dalot staying at right back, but the obvious need of a brand new right centre back to partner Licha Martinez on the left side is absolutely pivotal, with Luke Shaw hopefully regaining fitness and being our starting left back. Youngster Kobe Mainu of course is in the team, and I'm very excited to see what this kid turns into. Hopefully from the Euros he can have a great Euros and come in next season and absolutely dominate like he has this season. It's such an exciting prospect. I'm looking for a defensive midfielder next to him because I do think Casemiro will end up leaving the club. Garnacho as our starting right winger, Rashford as our starting left winger, who I've decided to not sell, and I think it's a good thing. I think Rashford could potentially leave this summer to PSG, but I think all things considered he is United through and through, and I think we'll do a good season next season. That seems to be how it works. We might as well keep him. And I do think Rashford is an absolute legend. So hopefully keeping him on the left wing. Bruno Fernandes, our captain, leader, legend in Cam, with Rasmus Højlund up front, makes up the starting 11. So just two positions to be strengthened, centre back and DM. And then when it comes to the backups, we are looking at a couple of others as well. A brand new backup goalkeeper. I don't think Altay Biendir has been given a fair shot, but I have seen rumours that he's leaving to Celtic. So I believe we're going to be getting a brand new backup keeper. And Tom Heaton has been offered a brand new contract, but he is going to be our third choice keeper, similar to why Altay Biendir was brought in. Wan-Bissaka I'm deciding to keep at the club purely based for financial reasons. I think he's a good enough backup to Dalot, and due to the money we have got at the club, I don't think a brand new right back is going to be a necessity to come in. Harry Maguire and Johnny Evans are both as our backup centre backs. Again, Evans has been offered a brand new contract. Quite feasibly, we could have sort of Camberwala going out on loan and bring in another brand new centre back alongside Maguire to be a backup, and bring two centre backs in. Malacia as a backup left back, obviously been out all season with injury, but hopefully he'll be back next season. I don't know what's happening with him. There is obviously serious links to a brand new left back to back up Luke Shaw. I hope we stick with Malacia. Amrabat as well, I've decided I'm going to trigger his purchase option. I actually think there is still a player there in Amrabat. He has certainly proven in the last sort of few games of the season that with a good spell of games under his belt, he can be a massive addition to the team. I think if we lose Casemiro, we have to sign Amrabat. I don't think you lose Casemiro and Amrabat. I think you have to bring Amrabat back in. I'd rather sell Casemiro to get rid of the massive wages. And next to him as the backup to Kobe Mainu, we have got Scott McTominay, the Segundo Volante, perfect for Scotty McTominay. He can run upfield, get involved in goals and be on the edge of the box. Fantastic. Anthony as our right winger backup to Garnacho. Again, I just can't see us having the money to buy another right winger to back up Garnacho. So Anthony, I imagine, will stay at the club. Mason Mount to back up Bruno Fernandes and Amad Diallo to back up Rashford. But I am looking at a striker to back up Rasmus Højlund, as the likes of Anthony Martial will have confirmed to leave the club on a free agent signing. We have one striker at the club. He is pretty good. I'm a massive fan of Rasmus, but I think we need some more help for him. So a sort of older, more experienced backup striker is going to be the goal. You can see I'm looking to keep Tom Heaton and Johnny Evans at the club to hopefully progress Harry Amas throughout the season. You know, if Malacia gets injured or Luke Shaw, we have got a fantastic young left back here in Harry Amas that can come into the club. And Dan Gore as well, I think as a young midfielder is fantastic. So hopefully getting him some game time. In terms of sales, we are looking at selling Casemiro, Eriksen, Sancho when he comes back from Dortmund, I think will still go. Van der Beek, Hannibal, Bayindir, Facundo Palestri, Lindelof, I think they'll all end up leaving, and then Campuala, Collier, Louis Jackson and Jack Fletcher going out on loan. I have mentioned the finances. We have got literally no money. It's the rumour in real life as well. There's about 35 million quid to spend. so not a lot at all. So we need to really be clever with our money and see what we can do. So let's get in to our transfers. So as mentioned, Victor Lindelof has left the club for £8.5 million. Toby Collier has gone out on loan, and Habib Ogwene has also left the club, but there is more. Ferguson out on loan, Harrison out on loan, Brandon Williams has left, Forson has left, Casemiro to Al Ali for £29.5 million. I think it's a great sale purely to get the wages off of the bill. Altay Biendia for £1.9 million, for Kudu Palestri for 3.7. Sancho, we just took what we could get, £14 million to PSG. It's not great, but it is what it is. And Hannibal Mejbri for £6 million, meaning we had about £55 million to spend. And of course, some jiggery pokery with the money, a little bit on installments here and there. We've spent around £100 million on 5 new players. And we'll get straight into number one. He's the cover star. You know we've brought in João Neves. There have been so many videos throughout the Euros of João Neves and Bruno Fernandes playing around together and looking like best mates. Imagine the midfield: Kobe Mainoo, João Neves, Bruno Fernandes. It's a little bit small, it's a little bit weak, but if we're going to be a ball-playing side, I would absolutely love it, and it'll be fantastic to see João Neves join the club. So I brought him in here purely to see how the experiment goes of them 3 midfielders, and I think it's a great signing as well. I'm a massive fan. He looks absolutely unbelievable, so talented, and yeah, an absolute, to be fair, bargain on this game for 50 million. In real life, it's going to be around 70 to 80. I think it's worth pulling the trigger. He is that good. I think it is worth bringing him into the club. So that's what we've done here. And as alluded to, we've brought in Sofiane Amrabat as well, as that slightly more defensive midfielder to come in and be a backup. In the big games, we need someone to be a little bit more strong in DM and to be a true ball winner. We have got that in Amrabat. 15 million quid. I just don't think we can lose Casemiro and Amrabat in the same window. So we've brought back Amrabat for 15. In terms of centre-back, of course, there's a lot of talk recently about Jared Braithwaite joining the club, but I've decided to go down a different route. I think Braithwaite is very, very good, but I think we could do better and for cheaper. So I brought in Jean-Claire Todibo, and he just cost us £25 million. Braithwaite is going to cost us around 50 to 70 million, and I think in real life it's very similar, with Todibo being available for around £25 million. Of course, Sir Jim owns Nice as well, so surely 25 million get to do over the line. 24 years of age is exactly what we need to partner Leacher. A big, strong centre-back who can do literally everything there is to do that Leacher can't. He's got the speed, he's got the height, the heading ability. I mean, Leacher can do that as well, but he's only small, he's 5'9". This guy comes in, automatically replaces Varane. He's also French, so I mean, they might even just start speaking to each other like it's Varane and Leacher. It's Todibo and Leacher, and I think they'll both be a fantastic partnership. In terms of backup striker, I've gone a little bit rogue. I've gone with Matteo Retegui. I did a lot of looking into strikers that are available in the market, and I think this guy, we were linked to him a few years ago when he was smashing goals in over in Argentina at Tigre. As you know, I bit the bullet on him, £11 million, and we've spent just £12 million to bring him in here. He is 25 years of age, so, you know, we've got a good 5, 6, 7 years left in him. He is 6'1", so quite a big, strong lad, fairly quick, good finishing, good consistency, and likes big matches. And to be honest, I think is a perfect backup striker for Rasmus Højlund. There's obviously talks about the likes of Serhou Guirassy, but I think can end up either Dortmund or Bayern. There's talks around Tammy Abraham, but I think he'll end up at Spurs. And then if you look at it, sort of an Osimhen, or I mean, Sesko's just signed a brand new contract. But the big strikers, we want to keep Rasmus as our number one. And I think someone like Retegui gives us that perfect balance of a great backup striker, but also, when needed, can be pivotal for us. And finally, in goal, I've decided to sign Sven Ulreich from Bayern Munich. I don't really know why, but he cost us £325,000. He's at 35. He's basically just a backup to Onana. I don't think it's a bad signing at all. It's very, very cheap. He's on 60k a week. I could have just used Tom Heaton, but I wanted to bring someone in a little bit more experience, a little bit better. Again, consistent, likes big matches. Hopefully, we don't get too many goalkeeping injuries. So, as sort of a leader to teach Onana the ways, along with Tom Heaton, I think is a really good goalkeeping trio. And when we look at the tactics now, we've slightly tweaked them already just to sort of cater for João Neves being a ball winner rather than an anchor. We've got Neves and Mainoo in DM, Shaw, Dalot, Todibo, Martinez, and Onana as the backline. Garnacho right wing, Fernandes in cam, Rashford left wing, and Rasmus Højlund up front. Backups, Ulreich, Wan-Bissaka, Maguire, Evans, and Malacia. I didn't sign another centre-back just yet. We might still be doing that, but if that happens, I'll let you guys know. Amrabat and McTominay in DM, Anthony, Mount, Amad Diallo, and Retegui as our backup 11 as well. Obviously, the 3 tactics, the only thing we really tweak is dropping Fernandes into a centre-mid role to sort of just get him back a little bit deeper and keep the 3 on the counter-attack. So there's no need to bring in like another striker to have 3 or anything. It's just a very very easy tweak. And then this one is a little bit more aggressive with deep line playmaker, etc. But again, I'll show you guys the tactics when they're finished around January time, once we've absolutely nailed them. So make sure you stick around for that one. But as our start of the season, we've got a fairly tough start. Obviously, City in the Community Shield, Forest, West Brom, then Chelsea and Aston Villa in the month of August. So let's get right in to see how we perform. So starting off then in the Community Shield, a real ding-dong battle against Manchester City, eventually losing 4-3, but some things happened. Mbappe's ended up at City. I don't know how. It means this season's going to be basically impossible to win the league. But if we do it, it's even more impressive. He was absolutely pivotal in this game, a brilliant player. But a 4-3 loss, you know what? I'll certainly take that. And of course, from there, we go straight into the first game of the season against Nottingham Forest at home. Diogo Dalot finding a low-driven effort into Alejandro Garnacho to make things 1-0. We then missed 2 penalties before Bruno Fernandes found Dalot on the edge of the box. A sweeping right-footed volley finds the bottom corner from distance and a 2-0 victory. And you can see from the stats, a dominating 2-0 victory as well. Much more of how Ten Hag wants to play when he's got all of his players fit, dominating possession, dominating on shots and on target, and not conceding 30 a game like we do in real life as well. Just a 5 against Forest, a very easy victory, 2-0, and I'm very happy with that one. And even more happy at the next game as well. Away from home, it was West Brom that got promoted rather than Southampton through the playoffs. Bruno penalty, Mason Mount, Rasmus Hojlund, Retegui and Garnacho, 5 different goal scorers, but of course already an injury to Luke Shaw, which is an issue because he's injured already for the next 4 to 8 weeks for hip injury. Fantastic. I'm glad we've got Harry Yamas, actually a very decent backup left back. But again, in this game, absolutely dominant. We didn't keep much possession though. This is our more attacking system. You can see from the heat map, it was a bit crazy. 28 shots, 13 on target, but just 34% possession of the ball. It's good to show that we can either counter-attack and be quick on the break, or we can hold possession and win. Both games are very easy. 7 goals scored, none conceded. And up next was Chelsea, so another absolutely massive game. Of course, Tiro Malacia playing at left back, but a great ball there from Mount to find Marcus Rashford on the stroke of half time, but there was just a minute left, and Mason Mount scoring against his old club. I absolutely love it. He runs away, he shushes, he cheers. What a legend. Chelsea get a goal back in the 95th minute, but it wasn't enough, and it was a 2-1 victory for Manchester United. And then we took our first loss of the season away from home against Aston Villa, a very strong side. We know they've just finished 4th in the Premier League in real life. Away from home, a 2-1 loss. I'm not the most angry. Buendia and Kamara scoring, Rasmus getting a goal for us. It was expected we would lose eventually. We weren't going to go on a crazy unbeaten run in the Premier League. That leaves us in the top 4, a point away from the league. There's only been 4 games. It's not time to hit the panic button just yet. We are going to get into, though, a very interesting September. We've got Liverpool, Lazio, Newcastle, Arsenal in the Carabao Cup and Arsenal in the league. So far we've played a few different sides. It's now getting into some really difficult games, and hopefully we can show we're a good side here. Well, of course, Liverpool have a much better squad than us and a very decent side, but we matched up against them in our defensive 4-3-3 system, and the 85th minute, Rashford made us 1-0 leaders, and Liverpool did get a goal back in the 93rd through Diego Jota splitting a ball through and Onana being beaten. But I have to say, I am very, very impressed with how that tactic has played out. The first time we've really used the defensive one, we have had 28% possession, which is what I sort of wanted, to just hit on the counter-attack with 5 shots, be defensively solid, and try and win games away from home against, you know, the top sides, against the likes of Liverpool, Manchester City, maybe Arsenal, and then we play in the Champions League or Europa League against the likes of Barcelona and teams like that. I want to be able to have a tactic which we can go to, which I'm confident in, and I think this first game using it has shown us exactly that. And I mean, the next 2 games as well just showed against the bigger teams we can also play on the front foot. Pretty much 50% possession here with Newcastle, but more shots, more on target, more XG, and a 2-1 victory. And against Arsenal, away from home, playing in the more defensive 4-3-3, an 84th minute goal from Bruno Fernandes, 33% possession, unbelievable. Exactly what I wanted, counter-attacking football. We have a second system which works an absolute treat. Sadly, it didn't quite work in the Carabao Cup. I rotated the side a lot as well, and Arsenal didn't rotate it as much as us. So Harry Yamas played at left back, Ahmad played on the wings with Garnacho, Mainu and Amrabat in DM. We ended up getting a little bit caught out in this one, a 3-1 loss, and it does mean we're not going to be winning the Carabao Cup, but we're not that interested in it. We're more looking at the FA Cup, Europa League, Premier League, you know, we move on. Carabao Cup, it's not the end of the world. Of course, we also kicked off our European campaign. This one was against Lazio, and it's good to see a Mason Mount corner to Harry Maguire to get us 1-0 leaders early on. Mainu and Ahmad linking up to find João Neves in the DM position. What an exciting trio of players that is, and he makes it 2-0 before Bruno Fernandes steps up from the spot to make it 3-0. Lazio are going to mount a comeback, getting a goal before half-time. A great ball through to Pedro. A little bit split open on that left-hand side, but as mentioned, Luke Shaw is injured, so Malacia and Harry Amas sharing that role, and they're going to grab another goal as well. Ball back stick into Zakagini, 3-2. They score. That's the end of the game, 88th minute. I wish we were a little bit better defensively going into the end of that game, but all things considered, it's 3 points to kick off our Europa League campaign. And overall, a pretty successful start to the season. Obviously, a loss against Manchester City, Aston Villa and Arsenal, but beating the likes of Chelsea, Newcastle, Arsenal, drawing to Liverpool, I'm very happy with how things have gone. We're now going to get into sort of the meat and bones of the first half of the season, playing against a lot of the smaller sides and sort of proper kicking off our European campaign. So let's see how we get on. Well, in Europe, things carried on going well after we beat Fiorentina 3-1, St. Gallen 3-0, Malmo 5-1, and finally a 2-2 draw away from home against Porto after a brace from Tony Martinez. But that leaves us sitting top of the Europa League, the league phase of the 36 teams of full randomness, which is absolutely crazy. But we are sitting top currently, 5 games, 4 wins and a draw. In the league, we jump back in at home to Brighton. A fantastic ball from Koimenu to find Rashford. He's going to beat his man, cut it back, and Bruno Fernandes is there to put it past Jason Steele to make it 1-0, and after a corner ball is cleared away, Mason Mount picks it up. He has been absolutely fantastic so far to start this season. Shot hits the post, Rashford finishes it off, but Mainu has been playing sort of as the right side of DM and bringing on Mount in that left side of DM as a Segundo Volante has been absolutely fantastic. It is a role that I can see him progressing with United as well. You can see from the shots and the possession, absolutely dominating Brighton, which is fantastic, proving it was right to not keep De Zerbi. And another one in that Segundo Volante role, Scott McTominay. When he plays there, he scores goals. He got 2 here away from home against Palace in an emphatic 4-0 victory. And that's while they kept the likes of Adam Wharton, Elise, Eze and Mark Gurhey. We absolutely smashed him. And obviously a much different scoreline to what happened at the end of last season. We then beat West Ham 3-1, drew 0-0 to Leicester, but then got into a game where we really showed that Rasmus Højlund was our starting striker for years to come. As we were at home against Spurs and we needed a striker to finish off the chances we were creating, Rashford hit the crossbar and Rasmus was there to poke home in just 5 minutes, grabbing his first goal of a hat-trick in this game. João Neves then finds Mainu, falls into Højlund, spins his man on the left foot, he scores to make it 2-0. Is he going to grab a goal on his right foot to grab a perfect hat-trick? I actually don't know. Wan-Bissaka finds Amrabat to McTominay, saved, drops in, and it was a right-footed goal, and Højlund is there for a perfect hat-trick, 2 from close range. It's what we've been seeing with Højlund in real life, really. He's been in the right positions at the right time. You fire balls into him, and we have got whipped crosses in for this tactic. You fire balls into him, he will attempt as hard as he can to get on the end of them. He is a fox in the box, he is a finisher, he is quick, he is strong, and he scores a hat-trick here as we beat Spurs 3-0. And to finish off that big run of games, we also beat Wolves 3-2 away from home. Højlund, Anthony and Rashford scoring all in 21 minutes. In the Premier League, we are sitting joint top of the league with Manchester City, which given they've got Kylian Mbappe, who's top of the average ratings list, is quite impressive. I am very happy with how the season is currently going. I'm very happy as well in how everyone's playing. In terms of goals, it's not just coming from Højlund. He has got 10, but Rashford with 6, Bruno with 5, Mount with 5, Garnacho with 4, McTominay with 3, Anthony even with 3 as well. In terms of average ratings, Dan Gore, who played 1 game, was brilliant. McTominay has been fantastic when he's played. Mason Mount on a 7.2, Rasmus on a 7.16, Rashford on a 7.19. Even Anthony we're getting a bit of a tune out of as well, which is pretty unbelievable, but things are going much better than sort of expected. And there is something to mention as well about our goalkeeper, Sven Ulrich. He's been absolutely brilliant when playing in the Europa League, a 7.10 average rating. It does mean that Tom Heaton isn't getting too many chances, and we are managing to give Onana a few games of rest so he doesn't get overtired, overplayed. Absolutely brilliant. A 7.10, 320k, absolute bargain hunter. And we did also sign another player, which I forgot to mention. I brought in Aaron Anselminho, purely as that sort of fourth choice, fifth choice centre-back, rotating with Johnny Evans in that role. He hasn't really played too many games at all. He's played in the Europa League, 4 games, 2 there, and he's available for them 21s, so he's played some games down there as well. We got heavily linked to this guy in real life, so I just thought it'd be fun to bring in him and see what we can get out of him as well. His potential in FM isn't crazy, but he is extremely consistent, very quick, and a very good defender as well. So also brought him in for what was it, £3.2 million. Ignore him. He's very good. He's very young. He's here as our 5th choice centre-back. Again, though, let's keep going on. A busy old December. And we'll start things off against Fulham with a 2-0 victory before going up against Manchester City, where sadly, after a perfectly managed game, we lose due to a Kevin De Bruyne penalty in the 97th minute. Again, playing the defensive 4-3-3, counter-attacking on 40% possession. Just couldn't quite get the job done. Sadly, that would have been an unbelievable point, and again showing how good this defensive 4-3-3 has been against the big sides with, let's be honest, a much weaker side than Manchester City. Haaland, Bernardo Silva, De Bruyne, Callum Phillips, I don't know how he's been mentioned there, but Akanji, John Stones, Edison, Kyle Walker. We're matching up with, a whole bunch of youngsters in the team, and let's be honest, just not quite good as a team, and we are tactically matching them up, just sadly losing out due to a penalty late on, but very, very impressive this game. We did bounce back with a 4-0 smashing of Everton, but then sadly dropped some big points away from home against Brentford. Again, a penalty, 87th minute from Brian Mbeumo. Bruno missing penalty as well in the second, and a bit of a devastating loss. I'll be honest, that just lit a fire under us, because we then beat Bournemouth 2-0, Ipswich 4-1 away from home, and then simply just one of the most ridiculous games you'll ever see against West Brom. I've had to speed up the highlights. That's how many goals there is going to be. A Rashford free kick, and then a Højlund whipped header from a great ball in from Garnacho. McTominay at the front post to make it 3-0 before half-time, and as soon as we sort of had that half-time team talk, we wanted another few goals. Garnacho found Rashford for 4-0. Rashford then down the left-hand side beats his man, finds Garnacho cutting in, beating everyone and making it 5-0 in 54 minutes. Rashford on the ball finds Mainu to find McTominay. McTominay, another great ball to Garnacho to find Højlund to make it 6-0 on the hour mark. Rashford grabs a hat-trick to make it 7-0. Bruno makes it 8-0. And Rashford, well, he just wanted one more to make a 9-0 game, driving in at an absolute fantastic finish. West Brom haven't been promoted in real life, and after watching that, I think it's quite a good thing. 63% possession, 28 shots, 4 goals for Marcus Rashford, and a simply ridiculous game. That has done absolute wonders for our goal difference, but it also brings us basically top of the league. We win our gaming hand, we go above Aston Villa, so things are going extremely well. Manchester City actually do also have 2 games in hand over Villa, and if they win both of theirs, they'd theoretically go top of the league, but ignore them. They've got 115 charges or whatever they've got about them. No one cares about them, let's be honest. Rasmus with 14 goals so far in the league. Rashford with 10. Rashford's gear as well, a 7.47, having that season that we really hoped he would. In terms of the sort of team overview, we have scored the most goals in the league and had the most shots for as well. So we've made United an attacking goal-scoring side yet again. In terms of fewest shots against, this season in real life, we're like the 18th worst team at conceding less shots. This season, we're 3rd. We've fixed things defensively as well, and we're only conceding 12 goals so far in 20 games. Possession-wise, I'm not looking to be here at all. Against the small teams, yes, but against the big boys, against the other big sides in the league, I don't care. I'm happy to counter-attack and have 25% possession and win games 1-0. So far, the season is going exactly how I sort of hoped. In terms of the competition screen, we are basically through in the Europa League, doing well in the league, in the FA Cup still. Let's see how January goes and see if we bring anyone in here. And where there is just the one starting to speak of, it's Will Lancashire, who I've brought in purely to be a young English backup striker. I've seen him before turn into an absolute joke in a Spurs simulation, so I wanted to bring him in here, to be honest, because United have lost the likes of, I think, Charlie McNeil and Joe Hugill are both leaving the club, so a young 19-year-old brought him for £7 million. It's just a bit of fun, to be honest, and we had a little bit of money spare as well, so Will Lancashire also joins the club. But I think I'm also at a point where I have mastered the 3 tactics, so we're going to go through these right now, but also these tactics are specifically available over on the Patreon down below. You need to get your hands on these 3. You've got 3 unbelievable 4-2-3-1 tactics. 1 that's attacking, 1 for every game, and 1 purely against the big sides away from home. These work an absolute treat. To kick things off, it's Ulrich in goal as a sweeper keeper on support, a wing back on support on the right hand side, a wing-back on support on the left-hand side. And Salminio and Maguire making up 2 ball-playing defenders, one as the left-hand side with Dribble More and Tackle Harder. Dangor and DM as a ball winner on defend with a Volante on support on the left-hand side. A wing on attack on the right-hand side of Garnacho and as an inside forward attack on the left-hand side. An attacking midfielder on support in the cam, roaming around, taking more risks, dribbling less, tackling harder, the exact Bruno Fernandes role. And an advanced forward up front, closing down more and tackling harder. It is obviously positive mentality in possession with overlapping down the left like United like to do, keeping that sort of middle passing directness with a high tempo, running at the defence, playing fairly wide, passing to space, counter press, take short kicks, and out of possession it's a mid block with a higher line. It is working an absolute treat. And there is obviously a more attacking variant where there's a few changes and the more defensive variant as well. There is a few changes to them, but they are all available on Patreon. A few legends down below. A massive thank you to the guys that have been running down the screen as well throughout that tactical breakdown. You guys are absolute legends and you are helping make my dreams come true of making content a full-time thing one day. And these guys' support on Patreon, you have no idea how much it means. And obviously you get a lot for it as well. As mentioned at the start of the video, the save file where we are at the start of the 24-25 season, so you can play in the Europa League with Manchester United, is going to be available as well as the end of this season as well. So let's see though how January has gone. Well, away from home against Nottingham Forest, we won 3-1, and again another brace from Matteo Retegui. But sadly, we got a bit of our own treatment from Liverpool. They had just 6 shots, we had 15, and we lost 2-1. There was another loss this time against Chelsea, a 1-0 and a Lukaku penalty. Purely unrealistic. He's not going to be there next season. We did bounce back though against Aston Villa, a team we struggled against earlier on in the season. This time we have got their number. A Bruno Fernandes penalty making us 1-0 leaders for Malacia finds a ball in, and Matteo Retegui off the bench scores a header to make it 2-0 and another 3 points on the board. Just to mention, in the Europa League as well, we drew 1-0 against Ludogorets a whole while back. We beat Zrinski 5-0 and Maccabi Haifa 4-1, so we are through in the Europa League to the round of 16. In the Cup so far, we played against Stoke and won 3-2, and Blackpool and won 3-1. So again, none of the most interesting games. We have got Fulham in the FA Cup 5th round coming up in February, and again, another decent spell of games in here. And of course, the real sort of business end of the Europa League coming up as well. Them 2 losses in the league haven't done too much for us, and we are 2 points behind Aston Villa now with no games in hand. And if Manchester City are to win their 2 games, they'll go up to 57 points and will be 4 points behind them. So it's not amazing, but losing to 2 teams which are very strong is not the end of the world. So let's carry on. The rest of the season, can we challenge for a few trophies? Right, well, first of all, we'll go into the FA Cup, shall we? We'll talk about this 4th round game or 5th round game against Fulham. Andreas Pereira scoring an absolute screamer in 3 minutes made it 1-0 to Fulham, but it didn't really stop us in this game. We had quite a rotated side, so Mason Mount had a ball in to Amad Diallo, cutting in off that left-hand side to make it 1-1. Højlund then heads it back into Sofian Amrabat to find Dallo as that very attacking wing-back, driving into the box and making it 2-1, exactly like he does like to do in real life. Højlund then driving down the left-hand side this time. Even though he is an advanced forward, he is still playing almost as that complete forward role because that's what his stats dictate. A great ball into Mason Mount to make it 3-1. Fulham do grab a goal back to make it 3-2. Iwobi cutting a ball back into Harrison Reed, but we had the last laugh with a 4th and final goal. Amrabat sitting deep finds Dangor out on the right wing. A ball across to Ahmad. Touch, finish, and we are through to the next round. And this one was up against Crystal Palace, and it was a team we beat 4-2 earlier on in the season. Well, they were looking exactly the same as Fulham to take an early lead. This time, just 16 seconds in from Lindstrom. But again, we're going to be the team that is on top. A great ball from Rashford to find Todibo to make things 1-1. Retegui down on the edge of the box. Don't worry about him. It's going to fall into Mason Mount, and he scores to make it 2-1. Retegui will be okay, I promise you. And we have managed to win that game, luckily, 2-1 in the quarterfinals, so we are through into the semis, which we'll get into later on in the video. But again, another great showing in the FA Cup, just like this season in real life. Hopefully we don't play against Coventry and just about get through. I'd like another massive moment like the one against Liverpool if possible, but again, that is for later on. How are things going in the Premier League? This genuinely could not be worse. We lost 1-0 to Newcastle thanks to Angel Di Maria scoring. That's just absolutely disgusting. And because it was just so grim, when we faced up against Arsenal just 5 days later, we had to absolutely punish them. A great, high press there from Garnacho to find Rasmus Højlund to make it 1-0. And the high press from Højlund with that close down more and tackle harder is working a treat. 2-0 in 38 minutes. He's like a pressing forward, advanced forward, complete forward mixed into one. And guess what? The high press worked again. Rashford dispossessing the centre-back. Højlund there to make a hat-trick of high press system goals. And finally, a fourth coming in as well. Mount finds Amrabat. He drives into the box. It falls to Bruno. And an absolute screamer. And goals were coming thick and fast as we battered Brighton 4-1 and Crystal Palace 3-0 as well in the league. So goal scoring was not an issue in the slightest. Away from home against West Ham, often quite a difficult place to go. And when we got off to a 1-0, losing due to a Bruno Fernandes own goal, I was worried for this game. But when you realise just how good of a team we are, João Neves finds Diogo Dalot down the right-hand side, again being an absolute menace and an outrageous effort at the near post to make things 1-1. And again, the high press system, boxing them in, being absolutely pivotal. A Rashford screamer, a 2-1 win away from home at the London Stadium. And again, just showing the high press, aggressive possession-based system is working an absolute treat. To finish off the month of March, we beat Leicester 2-0 and Wolves 3-1. So the Premier League table was looking very good and very, very tight. A game in a hand on Aston Villa, so we're going to probably be in second place. And still just 4 points behind Manchester City because very similar to in real life, they've just been on a run of form which is unstoppable. They lost to Aston Villa 4-0 in February, but other than that, they have won every single game. So it's been very difficult to beat them, which is frustrating, but it's what they do in real life as well. And this time, they've had to then Kylian Mbappe. So what am I really expected to do? Let's be honest. Rasmus is sitting top of the goal scorers charts. Rashford's second on the average rating. And that man Mbappe is sitting top. Haaland with 18 goals and also sitting on a 7.39. And De Bruyne a 7.39 as well. Ederson, 17 assists. De Bruyne, Ederson, 17 clean sheets. De Bruyne, 20 assists. Oh, we've got Garnacho on 10. It's a bit of a joke. That City team is crazy on FM. So winning the title will be an absolute feat. And we'll have to see if we can do it. 4 points away with 7 games to go. Let's check up on the Europa League. Yeah. Pretty much as expected, the Europa League, a 7-1 win against Partizan. The first game away from home was 0-0, but you get things back to Old Trafford. We absolutely smashed them. Goals from João Neves, a penalty from Harry Maguire, a brace from Højlund, and a hat-trick for Garnacho. A very convincing victory. In the quarterfinals of this one, I believe we have got Lazio away from home. We have beat earlier on in the season as well. We are looking at potentially playing against Roma, Dortmund, Chelsea, Bilbao, Genk, or Porto in the semi-finals. So certainly not an easy draw, but a competition I would like to win. In the FA Cup, we have been drawn against Manchester City, and either Liverpool and Spurs will face us in the final. So let's get in, though, to absolute crunch time. We have got a few games to go. Can we win the league? Can we win the FA Cup? And can we win the Premier League? We'll kick things off in the Premier League, and that man Rasmus Højlund just continues to be Spurs' nightmare. The high press system gets us the deflection of Rashford, and Rasmus makes it 1-0. But Spurs are a very strong side, and Ben Davies whips the ball in, and Serhal Guirassy didn't go to Dortmund or Bayern, he went to Spurs. So a bit of a sad one there, because I'd like to have got him in. Son then finds Sarr to find Basuma, and Spurs were 2-1 up. And you'll notice Ulreich is in goal as well, because Onana is injured. We'll go through that after this game. Amrabat finds McTominay. He spins his man, and he loves that Segundo Volante role, making it 2-2 away from home. Bruno Fernandes in the 92nd minute finds McTominay again to make it 3-2. And you're thinking that's the last goal. Well, no, it's not, because Amrabat scores to make it 4-2 away at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Now, in terms of our goalkeeping position, as mentioned, there has been a bit of a change. Andre Onana is injured. Fantastic. And guess what? He's injured for a long time as well. We got injured in training. He's going to be out for the next 2 to 5 weeks. And that's as of the 18th of May. So guess what? We're not seeing Onana again for the rest of the season. For the whole of the Premier League running, for the whole of the rest of the Europa League and FA Cup, they've got Sven Ulreich in goal. But actually, he's pretty good. A 7.9 rating away from home against Fulham, facing 17 shots, a 3-0 victory. And I needed it to be as well, because next up was Manchester City. And after a whipped corner and Rasmus Højlund scoring at the front post, another whipped corner, McTominay at the near post, making it 2-0. We beat Manchester City, keeping a clean sheet, and Ulreich was there. 2 set pieces, It is perfect. It's all I want to see against City, a victory, no matter how we do it. And I'm very, very proud of the team as well. Højlund and McTominay both scoring. You can imagine the guitar dance. You can imagine the McTominay knee slide, shutting up the blue side of Manchester. And then got battered with the blue side of Merseyside. 4-1 against Everton. I don't know either. I don't know what's happened here. We've been absolutely smashed. We kept more possession. That was the issue. We need to be a counter-attacking side. 4-1 is one of them games which sometimes happens on FM. We just did it before and we got absolutely destroyed. Had that killed our Premier League hopes? Well, in the run-in, we beat Brentford 3-2 and Bournemouth 4-0 away from home. And there was one game left of the season. And the Premier League table could not be closer. We are sitting in third place on 86 points, a point away from Aston Villa, a point away from Manchester City. In order to beat Manchester City in the league, we need them to lose away from home against Brighton. And for Aston Villa, we need them to lose away from home against relegated West Brom on 19 points. Neither team really has much to play for, but hopefully they can do us a job. But I'll leave you guys on a cliffhanger for the end of the video, because first of all is the Europa League quarter final. We're up against Lazio. We beat 3-2 earlier on at the start of the season, but Tati Castellanos has different ideas. He scores early on to make it 1-0, but Rashford, again, an unbelievable effort hitting the crossbar, and Anthony the most alive to make things 1-1. But Lazio were going to pick us back again. A Pierre Kalulu goal to make it 2-1 before we again pegged them back to make it 2-2 away from home and giving us a fighting chance back at Old Trafford. We beat them 2-0 thanks to goals from Bruno Fernandes and Mattia Retegui. But again, my favourite thing of this game, Lazio one shot all game, but 70% possession, just showing the DM partnership as the ball winner and Volante working an absolute dream. 20 shots for us as well on the counter. I absolutely love it. We set up a semis against AS Roma. And I tell you what, this was just simply ridiculous. Rasmus Højlund scores 3 minutes in after a João Neves corner to make it 1-0. The high press of Rasmus forced them into a mistake. It falls to Garnacho and it's 2-0. That close down more on the striker is absolutely crazy. I've never seen it work so much in a tactic other than this one. McTominay finds a great chip ball to Garnacho and he grabs his second of the game to make it 3-0. There is still 4 more goals in this game to come as well. Manu feigns Wan-Bissaka, a great ball in, and again Højlund is there to make it 4-0 after McTominay looks like he let him meg himself to. He obviously heard the scream of Rasmus. Garnacho whips it in, and guess who's there again? Højlund knocking it down for Marcus Rashford to make it 5-0 in the semi-finals of the Europa League. How does 6-0 sound? Amrabat, Anthony, Mount, again high press, and Mainu is there for 6-0. Roma do grab a goal back though to make things 6-1, but overall an absolute smashing after Tammy Abraham did score. But in the second leg away at AS Roma, there's not even worth showing. We lost 1-0. Really not that fast. So we have a Europa League final coming up soon as well. And that one is going to be up against Chelsea. So a very, very difficult game. But could we make it basically 3 finals in 3 games? We look to try and win the league on the last day of the season, win the Europa League and potentially win the FA Cup. Matías Nunes makes it 1-0 to City in 21 minutes. But that sweeper keeper on support sets up Luke Shaw playing as an inverted left centre back. Retegui scores an almost Van Persie-esque header over Ederson from the edge of the box, and that fires us all the way into extra time, the 108th minute. A great ball from Garnacho. Højlund is there, and a 2-1 victory, which means in the FA Cup we are setting up a final against Tottenham Hotspur. I mean, surely we can't let Spurs win a trophy. And you know what? We'll start off with that game against Spurs as well in the FA Cup. Basuma finds Papa Mateta Sarr to find Maddison. And it looks like Spurs might get their first ever seems like their first ever trophy. It's certainly not. Eventually, Rashford heads the ball over to Rasmus Højlund to make things 1-1. And we do take the lead and snatch the title chances away from Spurs. It drops to João Neves, who scores an absolute screamer from the edge of the box to make it 2-1. And then you see that Manchester United counter-attack. Mason Mount just running past absolutely everyone, going solo, making it 3-1. Spurs grab a goal back in the 97th minute to make things very interesting to end the game off through Mateta Sarr. 3-2 though was the final whistle, and Manchester United were FA Cup winners. Could we make it another one in the Europa League against Chelsea? Well, guess who's going to score the first goal? There's absolutely no prizes for it. It's that man, Rasmus Højlund, with a header at the back post 10 minutes in. He has been absolutely fantastic this season. Bruno finds Rashford down the left-hand side, and guess who he whips it into? Garnacho, a header at the back stick. Our crossing has been outrageous this season. Bruno then finds a ball into the back stick. Again, not quite headed that time. Malacia brings it down, fires it across the box, and it actually goes in for a 3-0. A Malacia goal in the final. Absolutely love it. But Chelsea actually put up a very good fight. Lukaku finds the ball into Nkunku to make it 3-1 in the 82nd minute, and in the 90th minute, Nkunku with the ball into Ademola Lookman, who scored a screamer to make it 3-2. But similarly to the FA Cup final, that was that. And it's 2 trophies this season for United, a Europa League and an FA Cup. But remember, the Premier League was where it all mattered. Going into the final day of the season, we were 1 point away. We needed to beat Ipswich and hope Brighton and West Brom could both do us a job. Well, first of all, it was time for us to do our job. At home against at Old Trafford against Ipswich, who had already been relegated. Surely it was going to be an easy victory. We did get a 1-0 lead, but Ipswich grabbed a goal back from Connor Chaplin to make it 1-1 in 48 minutes. But let's be honest, it was never going to really be too difficult. Rasmus made it 2-1 from the header. Bruno made it 3-1 from the spot. And in the 73rd minute, he grabbed another to make it 4-1, which means we done our job of beating Ipswich. But pretty predictably, we didn't win the league. Manchester City battered Brighton 3-0 and Aston Villa beat West Brom 4-0. I feel worse for Aston Villa. 90 points, level with City, losing on goal difference. If I would give them our goal difference if it was for them to beat City in the league, because we would have won it if we had one more point. Remember that 4-1 loss against Everton? If we just drew that game, we'd have won the league, but sadly we don't, and we miss out on this Premier League title by 1 point. An unbelievable season though, let's be honest. Winning the FA Cup, winning the Europa League, being back challenging for a Premier League trophy as well, creating 3 fantastic tactics, and overall just having a brilliant season. Rasmus scoring 37, Garnacho 17 with 19 assists, Rashford 16 and 14, Retegui 16 and 2 as our backup striker, Bruno 15 and 17, Mount 10 and 14, McTominay, our best player throughout the whole season average rating, 12 goals and 4 assists, Mainu having a brilliant season, 8 and 4, Debo 5 and 3, Anthony 5 and 4. Average rating wise, it is all going to McTominay, but the likes of Højlund, Garnacho and Rashford had fantastic seasons this year as well. If you want to carry this on and attempt to win the league against Manchester City, as mentioned, I've only on the Patreon down below. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, because as this video comes out, we could hit 10k subscribers. A massive thank you. Make sure you may be in the 10,000th person. Thank you for watching, and I'll speak to you next time.